Welcome to the Week 7 on the Missouri side, Week 5 on the Kansas side of Preps KC's Friday Night Live. Real excited about everything we have for you tonight. Man, some good games tonight, some blowouts, and also a surprise here or there as some teams took the field. And, it's interesting at this point in the season. We're looking at teams like Maryville and who are usually undefeated. They've got a couple losses now. You look at Smithville, who always seems to have that same roadblock, but they are able to kind of get a win tonight. And it's moving time, really, if you're on the Missouri side. You've got the last few chances here in the last 3 weeks to kind of get your district position in a good spot and try and get yourself there. Try and get as many home games as you can those first 3 rounds of the postseason. And then if you're on the Kansas side, you're kind of in the middle of your conference season, and you're trying to get things going. But you're done right now with Week 5. There's only 4 weeks left. Your district system in 5A and 6A is much different than Missouri. There's no strength of schedule or anything like that. So it's definitely a situation where you got to take care of your business. This is the hump. This is the grind. This is where the season gets tough, where you may have had some losses before. You can turn things around. And we've seen some teams do that in the last couple weeks. Blue Springs South has won 3 in a row after losing their first 4. That's a team that's really turned things around and done it impressively. Let's go ahead and get right into some highlights tonight. We're going to start off up in Smithville and take a look at Maryville coming to town. And I tell you, this is a game that started off and Smithville jumps on them early. And, coming into this game, Maryville had only lost 1 regular season game in like 5 years. And they lost to Chillicothe earlier this year. But Smithville hit some big plays here, a little play action look down the right-hand side. Nice ball, nice catch and throw there. That's a fantastic touchdown. Makes it 14-0 Smithville. Maryville would score, make it 21-6, or make it 14-6, and then Smithville would come back with a little touchdown pass here. Man, that's wide open. There's nobody there, and 21-6, and they would just go on to roll from that point on, and that was a good win for Smithville. They are now 7-0. I got to assume that's one of their best records in a long time, and really, they've got a date with Chillicothe with a chance to win the MEC, but really, they're in a district with Platte County and Kearney, so every win is massive for them. They have to go out and get a win on those games, because I tell you, if you don't, you're going to fall back, and even though Platte County and Kearney each have a loss, their loss is to a Class 5 team, and a good Class 5 team that has now 2 losses between the two of them. They've lost to Staley, Platte County lost to Staley, who hasn't been beat, and Kearney lost to Fort Osage, whose Fort Osage's only 2 losses are to Staley, and now tonight Lee Summit West. So, if you kind of do that 6 degrees of separation, Platte County and Kearney, even with a loss, their strength of schedule is going to be huge for them, where Smithville's been playing some Class 3 teams. Not saying Smithville's not a good team. I'm just saying when that comes to that district point standings, and we can take a look at that, where they stood coming in tonight, here in a little bit when we look at the scores. But looking at those district standings, if you're Smithville, you basically have to win out to try and get that number 1 seed, because Platte County and Kearney, one of them is going to lose a game because they're going to have to play each other at the end of the year. Whoever wins that game is going to be awfully tough to beat in that top margin. So not only does Smithville need to win, but they need to win big as the season goes on. Let's go ahead and go over to Rockhurst and see how things went out there tonight. They were playing a team from Pomona, Colorado. And there's Brady McCandless with a big run, and we've seen this Rockhurst team. They were just kind of bigger and physical, but Cole Young, I have a great story on this. He shot this video, was kind of letting me know. He said, Rockhurst just more physical in this team, but this Pomona team is pretty good. Look at big number 73, man. He's a load, and that's a classic sprint draw. A Rockhurst touchdown there, and there's a lot of things that Rockhurst does. They may come at you in different looks, but they're a lot of good team. Another good win for them. They bounce back from the loss to Blue Springs last week. Next up on the highlights here in our preview, kind of whatever we're going to have on the site tonight, we're going to take you out to Raytown South and take a look at their hosting Platte County. And we talked about Platte County playing well, and here they are. Tanner Clarkson, I tell you, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the Metro. There's an easy one right there, just finding guys, and Platte County's really impressive in pretty much every phase of the game. And really, Staley's the only team they didn't really shut him down. They just kind of outscored him that night. Here's Clarkson again, looking a little out to the back shoulder. Nice throw there. That's how you do it. That's how you get it done. And they run between the tackles. I tell you, when their offensive line's playing well, Platte County's pretty tough to beat. They've got a veteran quarterback, even though it's his first senior year starting for the first time behind Justin Wilson. But he really had a lot of experience in the summer. Was a pretty good football player, and is showing it this year for Platte County. It's another good win for them. Let's go ahead and take a look at some scores. We'll stay on the Missouri side since we're here, and take a look and see how some of these weeks went. Here we are. Wow, it's going away on us pretty quick. Let's see. We'll start down south. You got the WeMo Conference. Archie and Adrian been pretty much the best two teams in that conference. They get wins tonight. Belton, they bounced back after a tough loss to Kearney last week, 37-8 over Ruskin. St. Joseph Lafayette, big over Cameron. They get that win. Lexington all over Carrollton, 55-14. There's a showdown coming in the MRVC East. For those of you who like some Class 2 football, Lexington and Lafayette County both ranked, both undefeated. It's going to be a good one when that gets going. Sedalia Smith Cotton all over Clinton. There's a showdown coming in the West Central. Sedalia Smith Cotton's undefeated, getting some rankings. Vote center. Sedalia Smith Cotton's a Class 5 team. They're playing a lot of Class 4 and Class 3 teams because they're in that conference. But center is just rolling along as well. But they're the last week of the season could be a big battle. Truman Falls, 34-0 to Columbia Battle. Lincoln Prep gets a shutout over East there. That's I think 3 wins in a row now for Lincoln Prep. Kansas City Central, tough loss against Columbia Hickman. Grandview blanks Winnetonka, but shout out to Winnetonka, the first ever football game at their stadium. It was homecoming. Big night for them. I know they didn't get a win on the scoreboard. There's a lot of pride in that school. I know Jared Barge and his team, there's a lot of things they're trying to do, and taking that pride and having that home game is one of them in that. Talk about Blue Springs South, 49-21 over Lee Summit. I'd like to tell you it was that close. It was 28-0 real quick in that game, and they just rolled from there. Lee Summit West Fort Osage, and we're going to have some highlights on that, and big story on that as we go forward. It's definitely a game where I'm going to get out of this and come back in. I don't know if I like how that's broadcasted. But it's definitely a game where it was 10-9 at halftime, and then Lee Summit West just kind of blew them out from there. Let's go ahead and go on to some other highlights. The scores don't seem to be wanted to getting going here. Take you out to, this is Tonganoxie and Lansing. And Tonganoxie, people don't talk about this team enough. You talk about this big physical team, but they're a pretty balanced squad. And they go up to Lansing tonight and just kind of roll. They moved them to 5-0, and here's a nice little throw and catch by Lansing. Lansing always has some good athletes, and they've had some years where they've been pretty good. But they've struggled. There's a little tip drill. Interception by Tonganoxie. They were leading 14-3 at the time, and that's that new stadium that Lansing has. It's a good-looking facility. Tonganoxie's a team, with Basehor Linwood losing tonight. That's a team you got to keep an eye on in the Kaw Valley now. They're kind of the favorite right now. Bonner gets past Basehor Linwood. Not only do they score on Basehor Linwood, they win 33-21. So now Tonganoxie's got the lead there. Let's take a look at some other games out on the Kansas side. Olathe North. Let's try the scores again here. See how this looks. Not sure why we're not getting good view on the website tonight. Let's go over to Kansas. Atchison beats Washington 33-20. Of course, Thursday night we had some good games. Bishop Miege beat Blue Valley West 51-7. Boy, the game wasn't really even close. Blue Valley North all over Gardner. Of course, we see Blue Valley, St. James. We talk about St. James team now that's 6-0, or not 6-0, 5-0. It's their best start since they were 6-0 a few years ago. And I tell you, this is a team that is looking like, they could share an EKL title with Bishop Miege because they don't play each other this year. And in 5A, we talk about Aquinas. Mill Valley's been there the last few years. St. James, with this win tonight, really puts themselves on the map, and Tom Radke and his team could be a squad to keep an eye out for. Last night, Blue Valley North, Blue Valley Southwest both got big wins. You see the Basehor Linwood falling to Bonner Springs. DeSoto goes down to Nevada across the state line, just pounds a Nevada team. And DeSoto, Miege is the class. There's no doubt about that. But DeSoto looks like a good football team, and who knows? Maybe that could be the team they meet up in the semifinal. well, they're going to meet one more. They're going to meet once at the end of the regular season, but then, the winner of that game is probably going to be, get the 1 seed on the one side of the bracket, and they'll go on the other seed. The other team will go on the other side. So, that's that's a huge situation there. Paola bounces back from the loss to DeSoto last week, get a 42-6 win there. Free State last night, 31-6 over Olathe South. Lewisburg gets a shutout of Baldwin. Baldwin been playing well. That's a good win for Lewisburg. Olathe North goes to Lawrence and wins. Lawrence's offense has been good all season long. Their defense has not played well, and it's cost them 2 out of the last 3 weeks. Olathe North looked great to start the season, and then they just kind of fell off, and they really haven't played the same way they did when they beat Wichita Heights that first week. Olathe Northwest and Leavenworth, we're going to have highlights of that here in a minute. Good win by Olathe Northwest. They're moving right along. Piper blanks Turner. That's their second win of the season. Shawnee Mission East 59-6 over Shawnee Mission North. I'll tell you, that game was ugly early, and there was no closeness there. Shawnee Mission East was all over them. Last night, Olathe East beat Shawnee Mission South. We got highlights up on our YouTube channel on our site as well. Shawnee Mission West kind of went back and forth. The Shawnee Mission Northwest now, that's 3 wins. They're playing pretty good football. Spring Hill edges Ottawa. Spring Hill was kind of leading that game late, or most of that game, and then Ottawa threw some up there late to get that. Aquinas rolls over Mill Valley. We see some highlights of that. Of course, we talked about Tonganoxie. Schlegel, 34-13. That was tied at halftime over Wyandotte. And then Ivan Webb took over. I think he had 4 touchdowns, another 370 yards. So he's closing. I think he's almost at 1,600 yards and 19 touchdowns in 5 games. I mean, if you want to pace him out, you're talking about, if he gets a 10th game, you're talking about 3,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive, and he definitely is inserting himself into the Simone discussion. Let's take a look at that Olathe Northwest game and against Leavenworth. They go up to Leavenworth. Great facility up in Leavenworth. They just haven't had the wins to go with it. Here's a good run for Olathe Northwest for a touchdown. And there was a lot of Olathe Northwest most of the night. And just big holes there. But it's a good-looking run right there in the middle, getting to midfield. Coach Chip Sherman, Coach Mark Litch, a little bit of experience on the sidelines of this game. Probably 2 of the most seasoned coaches in the Metro. Another good run here. Nice spin move. In for the touchdown. And I don't know if we've talked enough about Olathe Northwest. That's a team we need to be paying some attention to the next few weeks as that season winds down. Here's a good throw and catch by Leavenworth. Get themselves a touchdown. Oh, official got turned around there and fell down. Hope he's okay. See the excitement there. Leavenworth hasn't had a lot to get excited about this season, so they got excited there on the touchdown. Tonight on Spectrum Sports, our partners, Mill Valley hosting Aquinas. Kevin White on the call here.
Quarterback keeping it, and will go in and pitch out. This is Hicks trying to use his speed, and he will get it in there. Drew Hicks. That looked like a broken play there, Jay.
It did, but with the experience of Drew Hicks and how good of a running back he is, made it look effortless.
9-yard touchdown run by the left slot here. And
see, there was nobody there. Nobody.
So Aquinas gets that big win, 42-21. Northwest 149-9, and that's a little quick look at things. We've got a lot more video. We got a ton of video this week. We're going to have video from more than 15 games. Of course, coverage of touching about 30 to 35 games and scores from all the games tonight. And then, of course, we'll have some game coverage tomorrow as well with Blue Springs and Lee Summit North going in that makeup game from tonight. I tell you, it's getting real interesting. We had talked about districts. Let's take a look at that real quick before we go on the Missouri side first. And we talked about that Class 4 district with Platte County and Smithville. This is going in tonight. They haven't, there's still games to be played, so that we'll get those updated districts on the site on Tuesday. You see Smithville here is behind Platte County. Look there. We weren't even talking about Excelsior Springs. They're tied with Kearney. They won big tonight over Oak Grove. St. Joe Lafayette won. There's 5 teams that have combined 4 losses in that district. It's and Savannah won tonight. They're 3-4. So and St. Joe Benton won tonight. So that's a team. That's a district that is so tight, and it's going to come down to that last week. And you could go from 1 to 4 real quick on that. So that's just when you look at those districts, and we'll talk more about this as we go on later in the year. But something to think about, something to keep an eye on. And as we get closer to the end of the season, we'll get those districts out. Usually Tuesday morning is when we get the districts out. Their final, Misha, you have to have your scores in and make sure all corrections are done by noon so they can make sure their computations are correct. That's why I hold off until Tuesday morning, so they make sure there's a correction there, because there are some things that happen. I found some things there where there's some incorrect records and things like that. So one of those things you just want to keep an eye on. And again, another great week. We appreciate you guys stopping by, and looking forward to seeing this again. And every week we try and get a little better, and we showed you just a little snapshot of what we're going to have, and lots more highlights and stories coming down the pike tonight. Everybody have fun, stay safe, and we'll chat with you again next week.